Hello, my name is Avi, and I'm the writer of the Poppy books. And we have just, Brian and I, put together a new book in the series that gets plunked right down into the middle of the series. It's called Ragweed and Poppy, and it's all about how Ragweed and Poppy meet.
And my name is Brian Floca, and I am the illustrator, most recently, of Ragweed and Poppy by Avi.
It's true.
It's true.
The series starts off with the character Ragweed and his adventures in the town of Amperville. And at the end of that book, he goes off and he hopes to go to a place he's heard about called Dimwood Forest. Now, the series as it exists today takes place in Dimwood Forest, and Ragweed and Poppy have already met. In fact, Ragweed is about to ask Poppy to marry him. So obviously there's a gap in the story, and readers over the years have said, well, how did Poppy and Ragweed ever meet? And that's what the story Ragweed and Poppy is all about. Well, we're celebrating the 25th anniversary, 25 years since the first Poppy book came out. And when I wrote the last one called Poppy and Aerith, I thought I would write no more. But then these questions came in about Ragweed and Poppy, and there was the opportunity to add one more to the series and plunk it right down in the middle.
I got involved with this series at the very beginning when I had already illustrated one book by Avi. We had collaborated on a graphic novel together, City of Light, City of Dark. And I was very happy to get to work with Avi again. I was happy to get to do a different kind of story, a sort of a story that reminded me of classic animal stories I had grown up with, but that also felt very contemporary and real and grounded in real characters and real emotions. I
could not conceive of doing the books without Brian's work, not just because he's a really good artist. I've become so identified with his portrayals of the characters that the thought of working with somebody else who might have done a good job, but not the job and not the artistry that Brian brought in. I start with the manuscript that I've received, usually directly from Avi, and I start like a reader does. I go through the book and I read it, and I just try to have, my antenna up for what speaks to me as a reader, what seems like an important moment in the story, either in terms of plot, in terms of an event that's wants to be illustrated, in terms of something that seems especially visual that I feel like readers will want to see, or something that feels especially emotionally resonant. I'm just going through as a reader looking for these things and making notes, I guess, with what registers for me. So you're thinking about the visual pacing of the book, and also just what feels really important and essential to have shown. But it also should be said that I, as the writer, really look forward to seeing these illustrations, because I don't see them one by one, and I won't see them until they're pretty well done. And it's fun for me to see the life that I've sort of put on the page literally spring to life visually. And it makes the experience for me that much richer and deeper, and if it can be happening, even more fond of the characters than I've been before.
And it is a great act of trust to give your story to an artist, and then have that artist have their way with it. And so to have someone feel that you've done right by their characters and stories is a really meaningful thing for the artist. So I feel very lucky about how the series has gone in that sense.
What is it that makes books for young people different than, say, writing for adults? And actually, I don't think it's the writing per se. I think it's the reader. The way young people read books is different than the way adults do. And the wonderful thing is that young people absorb the books, and the experience in the books become part of their experience. They're not separate. And it's a whole dimension to their lives that they have lived through the books. That's simply an extraordinary event in their lives. and it's something to cherish and to encourage, and makes the whole world of children's books so very different than the world of adult books.